Welcoming song, Grateful.
Good morning. You may be seated. I just want to warn you in advance, I have my sexy voice today. So I will inspire and titillate, and it will be a marvelous morning. Thank you so very, very much for coming. What a wonderful week. It's Valentine's week. I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, "My God, you're good looking." And then, oh my God, you're like savages. And then say it with chocolate or don't say it at all. We're so glad you're here. It's a marvelous day. It's actually a very important day. After this service is our town hall meeting. And it is something that I'm sure David will remind you of, but it's an annual event that happens every year for every CSL. And it's really vital that you come, because I just want you to know that your board of trustees has put in an extraordinary amount of work and hours and effort in order to reveal to you the vision for the remainder of this year and ongoing and where we are financially and all of that great stuff. So please, if you have a Cliff Bar in your purse and you're willing to half it and share it with people so that you can at least stay a little bit, it would mean so much to us. Please welcome Mr. Valentine himself, David Reilly.
Good morning. I'm sensing a theme here because in January I was the New Year's baby. Now I'm Valentine's. I fear you see me as a pudgy baby in a diaper. That's what I said. Good morning. Welcome to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We are a center that recognizes everyone on their spiritual path, and we hope to be a place of great inspiration, thus allowing you to tap into your inherent greatness and to live the life you love. And speaking of that, do you love the new program with it right on there? So, Now, I'll tell you right now, I gave the disclaimer at the last service. This is a prototype. So basically what we're doing is trying to work it through. We needed it by today. The printer, they're still trying to help me with colors because I'm not happy with the colors and I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I sent it back. And so they're like, no, I know that's hard to believe. But anyways, so we're working that out. So there's a few typos that they had made and some other stuff. So we're working through all that. We are aware of it. But again, it's not the final, it's just the prototype. But we needed it for today, and I bless them for letting us have it for today so that we could introduce it to all of you. And I'm going to leave the lights up during the service for parts of it because you need to read because we got a new song in there, which we'll introduce later on. So get ready for that. So Cancer Survivor Thriver Group. Because of the annual meeting today, those folks are not going to be meeting right after as they normally do on this type of Sunday. So if you are in need of support and need to talk with someone, Kathy Daniels is here and she's available. She'll be here around before the meeting and after the meeting. So please seek her out if any of you who are Cancer Survivor Thrivers. Again, the annual meeting is right after the second service, so I'm going to ask practitioners to please, when you are doing treatment, if you could step outside or to rooms upstairs to do treatment so we can set the room quickly so that everybody can get in and we can get started. And then also this coming Friday, we are celebrating, of course, as we are the whole month, Black History Month, and we've got Malcolm X. So I don't have Denzel Washington here, but I have Denzel Washington in Malcolm X. So just as good. So anyways, if you can join us, that's 7 o'clock here in the secondary sanctuary, and then we usually do a discussion led by Baji afterwards, so please join us for that. And our LGBT/O group, as we know, they're relaunching themselves. That means other, for those of you that don't know. So, or oneness, actually. But basically what we're doing is we are going to relaunch that group. Scott LaSalle and Sue Mormon are now the chairs of that group, and they're having their first meeting to set goals for the year, whether it be service goals, social goals, etc. And so they'd love for you to join. So if you have not signed up on the list, it's at the volunteer table. You can sign up so they can get your email. They're going to send out an evite with the actual location of the party. It's going to be the 28th at 7 o'clock. So the 28th of February, 7 o'clock. So don't miss that. And also, we're excited to be involved with a sponsorship with CSL Midtown, Trinity Centers for Spiritual Living, and City of Light. So we are joining forces for a Journey of the Soul, Walking the El Camino Santiago. And we're going to show the movie over at City of Light. It's going to be on Friday, March the 6th at 7 p.m. I believe it's only $10, but then basically what we're going to have is a discussion afterwards from people who have made that pilgrimage, which we know is our beloved Reverend David Ault, and another young lady who's there as well. They'll be answering questions and telling a little bit more about that experience, and all the proceeds for that are going to the Khmer Child Foundation of David's Center. So we are thrilled to be a part of that with our sister CSL Center, so please support that. We've got flyers out there and we've got small cards. So if you can join us for that, we'd love to have you. And we have an online store. Get excited about that. So let me just use the visual aids. So, last year we did a peace march. Jill Waddell was instrumental in creating this. So we've got the I Am Peace shirt. And if you want to sip your coffee with your I Am Peace mug, you may do so as well. So anyways, the online store has all the different logos that you've grown to know and love over the years. Spiritually Fabulous. We've got the new one, which is Live the Life You Love. It's all on there. Order the shirt, the cup, the book, the purse, whatever you want, with the logo you want and the color you want. Have at it. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. So also, any first-time visitors joining us for the very first time today, raise your hands, high in the sky. I love it. Stand on up so we can welcome you. Great to have you here. What you are receiving is a CD case. You may redeem that at the welcome table out front and redeem that for one of Reverend Dr. David Ault's talks, especially selected for you. Keep raising your hand. Robin, right over here, center aisle. So you redeem that for one of Reverend Dr. David Ault's talks, especially selected for you. I am in a diaper. I think I am. Anyways, have a great day. We'll see you at the town hall meeting.
Also, too, I just want to remind you, if you are remotely interested in going with me to Istanbul in Turkey in August, the flyers are available. First come, first serve. If you would stand with your new shiny programs. On the inside is our declaration of principle, and I invite you to read this with me together. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe that all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. If you'll remain standing, our song this month, Love is My Decision, is on the inside. Those around you and say welcome and good morning to Spiritual Living Center. My God, can you feel that energy? Yes. Woo. So we are in the second week of our season for peace and nonviolence, which begins at the beginning of February and ends at the beginning of April. It commemorates the memorials of Gandhi and of Martin Luther King, two seminal beings who came and showed us what peace and nonviolence were all about. The whole reason for doing this and honoring this particular time frame is for you and I to seriously begin to do some self-inquiry in discovering and uncovering and then promoting ourselves into an energy and a space of actually being peace rather than talking about peace. And what a wonderful thing to aspire to and to intend, as well as to practice individually and collectively as a community. And it's always our privilege to invite our amazing young adults who I think are not so little anymore. Eliza's wearing heels today. So, but they are just walking, breathing Buddhas among us, and I just am so humbled to be around them and share your thoughts about peace. Eliza.
Thank you, David. As you know, I'm Eliza Huffman. One of my parents, my mom, is in Singapore right now, probably hiding from the monkeys. And I'm so grateful to have my dad here to support me. And they were my sponsors to go to camp. And every year we go, oh, camp, this is amazing. And I don't think that it gets across how amazing camp actually is. At camp, at the end of the night, it's a small thing, probably, to all of you, because we sit around this one flame and we do a whole meditation, all of us, all 350 of us. And there's a silence held there until someone stands up and they say, peace to me is, and then they fill in the blank. Sometimes it's just peace to me is. That's all they have to say, because we understand. Peace to me is the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. Peace to me is being here in front of you today. Peace to me is being loved. Peace to me is loving. Peace to me is everything that I could ever ask for. It's what weaves us together as a race, as a group, as one. Peace to me is me. Peace to me is you. And peace to me is us. Thank you.
And so we light this candle each week during this particular season. And I just want you to pause for a moment. And as we do this, as Eliza lights the candle, I want you to then take personal responsibility in the stillness of this one moment and vow to allow yourself to be that vessel of peace. It is done, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. I invite you now to get comfortable to take some deep cleansing breaths as we move into our prayer time, which is beautifully facilitated today by Scott.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. So there's peace in the air, and there's also love in the air, right? And there's also love right here. So let's go to that place we know, to be only love, only God. So I'm inviting you now to get comfortable, and you're going to take a brief journey with me so that we can affirm from the highest of all places. So you take another deep breath, this time getting more and more relaxed. And I want to invite you now to allow yourself to begin to safely and beautifully drift from your seats in your mind's eye, to be lifting apart, be above this beautiful spiritual living center of Atlanta, to continue to rise and see all of Atlanta, Georgia, this beautiful United States of America. Continue to allow yourself to rise in spirit all the way till you can see the entire world. You are there at the perfect time and space to see it all. And I want to invite you this morning to join me in seeing this through God's eyes. So, imagine, if you would, a spiritual telescope in front of you right here and right now. And as you look through this telescope, which I invite you to do now and anytime you wish, you will automatically be granted the power and the ability to see things the way God does, no matter what they seem to your physical self. So go ahead, take a peek now. Look into the view as I now pray for myself and for each and every one of us. As you view, you see the world. You see all that is God and all that is glorious. You see the beautiful oceans, all the countries, and if you look close enough, you see each expression of light. You see me. You see you. You see each and every beautiful creature. Yes, we are all connected. All the animals, the seas, the plants, the trees, we are all absolute perfect creations of God energy. And I invite you to see God in the sunrises and sunsets. See God in the moonlight. I invite you to hear God in the sound of the ocean, in a baby's cry, in children playing and singing. I invite you to taste God as you nourish yourself with the most beautiful snack or food that nourishes you in mind and soul. I invite you to smell God as you're in a rose garden, or perhaps close to a loved one who has your favorite cologne or perfume that they wear. It's a reminder of love. And my favorite, allow yourself to feel God. With every handshake, every hug, every kind deed that you do, every way that you touch another being on this planet, you touch yourself and you make God smile. So we have the opportunity every moment of every day to see, hear, touch, taste, and smell God. And there's nothing that could be more way of expressing love. So I know and declare this love week of sorts, this Valentine's Day, is one where you remember the true love in your life. Whether you're loving yourself, loving another, loving a pet, or just being in love with life, it is all good, and it is all God. And so I invite you now to allow yourself, knowing you can come back to this place anytime you want, where perhaps you can shine the telescope on an area that needs your special love. So begin making your way back down to this beautiful place, filling yourself with gratitude more and more each and every moment. And perhaps make a commitment from this moment on each day to do your good deed of the day. Allow yourself to experience God with all your beautiful senses, and know that as you touch each and every individual, your soul is growing and expanding, as well as your consciousness. So we're filled with gratitude. And as you get closer to the planet, you know and notice something very interesting. The world actually isn't round. Through God's eyes, it's in the shape of a heart. And so are you. And so it is.
And so I invite you to open your programs. What we are incorporating and what we love to do from time to time is to provide a little bit of change. So the response song from the prayer is in there. And we're going to sing it through twice. If you're attached to the other one, don't worry. We'll come back to it from time to time. But allow yourself the experience of the new as we sing together.
With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open never cease. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me.
Great morning, everyone. My name is Dana Robinson. I'm one of the members of the young adult group here known as Kinetic Ascent. And we have been given such a lovely opportunity to bring in the majority of the artists that will be performing for the season in Peace and Nonviolence. And it ties in with our mission statement of community and empowering each other in our gifts as we go along on our spiritual journeys. And today's artist is someone that I remember from early 2013. She is a great singer and performer, but what I remember the most is the warmth that I felt, the love, and how I left with a smile after she performed that day. So please give a warm welcome to Mary Allison, formerly known as Allie Doodle, and Michael Lott.
Hi. Hi, beautiful. This next song is going to be quite a journey we're going to take together, and whether you worship Buddha or Allah or Jesus or Krishna or Kim Kardashian, I welcome you along this journey, all the same, all the same. There'll be a part in here where we do a chant together, Day. So just know when we sing Day, you guys can come on in with us on that part. You are constructed from the same energy that formulates the universe. You're just living inside of a luxurious body, complete with functions we simply dreamt of in the life before this one, when we were merely just floating around, no form to hold our ambitions. And while you are living in this physical configuration, know that the body knows no bounds to the interminable energy within. Our thoughts are precious. And when we give in to what the mind wishes to say, we give in to the paradigm every human prototype inhabits before he or she breaks his or her own mental barrier. Form knows no boundaries because form was formed from chaos, from energy, and she'll eventually be shattered only to be assembled again. And form knows no boundaries, so don't give in to the form within. Day, lost control. Forgave my sins. Rewind the clocks. Begin again. Eventide knows no limit. Tireless love, I get lost in. Oh, turn back time. Don't discern my love. Oh, turn back time. Don't discern my love.
Thank you both so much for being the instrument of that beauty and grace to come through. I wanted to still remain in the energy of Cambodia a little bit. I know that you were fortunate to hear Lexa and Doris. I'm going to invite the two of them to come back up. But anybody else who is here, Diane, who else is here? If you would come join me up here real quick. Did Chike stay? Okay, come on up. But I just, again, want to acknowledge these beautiful people for their service and their heart and their expressions of love. And I know you got to hear from these wonderful women. I just wanted to know, Diane, did you just get back?
Yeah, I did. I just got back Friday. I'm still jet lagged.
Can you tell them a little bit about or share anything?
Okay. I went to Cambodia last January and this January, and the thing that I saw that really showed me that this school has been very effective is they opened a new village school. And when I went there, I really saw the contrast between the children at the other school and how much growth that they had. They have so much confidence. They have really good English in comparison, and they were just so full of life, well nourished, and I don't know. I just feel like their hearts were open, and they were really doing well. And the village children had just started this journey. They have just started, and the English wasn't there. And I just saw the contrast between the two, and I know that David has done a great job with the first school, and hopefully the second one will continue to flourish.
Oh, thank you. My experience at in Cambodia was one example. One illustration was the sunrise at one of the temples that we went to. Not everybody brought a flashlight, but we all made it safely on our journey towards the area in which we were to enjoy it. But it symbolized to me that when we walk our own path and we allow our light to shine, even if the person next to us may be on their own vibration or their own journey, we can still shine a light on others. We don't necessarily have to interject our way or our method, but we can all get there by being our own lights and helping others.
Anything more from this week?
Yeah. So I was thinking sort of what the takeaway, there were many takeaways, but you know what the Cambodians, when they greet you like this. They do the pranam. That's what they do. So we kind of reserve it for the end of yoga class where we say namaste. But that's how they start. That is the greeting. They see you and they immediately honor the light in you immediately, and then do it throughout the day. So I was thinking this week that one of the greatest gifts of this journey was the gift of perspective, and how we have so much here that we take for granted, and they have so little, but they're so joyous, and they just are dancing through life with so little materially. And that has completely altered my whole view of my life here, experiencing that, you know, that really third world country, and seeing that light just emanating from them based on the God within them, not based on what they have, their material wealth. So that gift of perspective is really transformative. And, you know, as Chike said, I was thinking that when I'm seeing someone that's suffering, even if they may not be suffering, that's my perspective, but I can offer them a clear space. I don't have to superimpose my judgment and my experience on them. I can just be a clear space for them and allow their, you know, not over attached to what I'm perceiving. So anyway, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on, so anyway.
So in the past week, my body has somewhat adjusted to being back, but my mind, I don't think, has yet caught up, and I don't know that I really want it to. I really want to give a shout out today to Cheryl Chandler, who was leading the singing today and sang a beautiful song a few months ago in church. And after she sang, she issued a challenge to us to do something that really scares us that day. And I had been thinking about making this trip for the past several years. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Cambodia with David Ault, for God's sakes?
Most of the people in the room.
Don't sell yourself short. So I had been thinking about it and toying with it, and when she issued the challenge to do something that scared us, I knew what that thing was. And probably those of you in this room know exactly what it is for you right at this moment. So what I want to say is we are an amazing community that supports each other. I had huge concerns about my physical ability to handle this trip. I talked to David several times. I have asthma. I was afraid of the air quality. I didn't use my inhaler one single time on this trip. Not once. And that's despite several nights where I didn't have what I consider to be enough sleep, which is usually a trigger for me. And I climbed through those temples thanks to these two fellas and two others that aren't here, and allowed myself to be supported, which is really a big deal for me. I'm pretty independent. And I urge you to open yourself up, allow yourself to be supported here, and allow yourself to be challenged. I think maybe it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, we should do something every day that challenges us. I urge you, take that on. Do something, hey, at least once a week, once a month, whatever it takes, stretch yourself. And that's what this trip was about. And these kids are stretching themselves. You know, they didn't know English, they didn't know how to take care of themselves physically, you know, from a health and cleanliness point of view. They're learning all of this. It's an amazing process. Let yourself be part of it.
Thank you. I wanted you to experience that one last time because the theme of love and what we're focused on this month is such a huge topic, something that is indefinable, and yet we try to define it. How do you describe and define love? How do you describe the essence of life itself? How do you define the thing and put words to the energy systems that allow you to be who you are and that carry you through this world and that brought you into this world? And that's the magnitude of the topic of love. And when we look at this month and we declare it as love, I think what we're asked to do as conscious beings is to move beyond the surface definitions and begin to look at ways in which we are absence of love and the ways in which we are called to embody that and to be that and to practice that at greater and greater levels. And the way that we do that is not through here. The way that we do that is through here. This is the point of action. This is the point where we take words and we actually put the energy and the vibration and the truth to that through the way in which we show up in the world. And so I fell in love with this little beautiful pocketbook by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist monk from Vietnam, called True Love. I like the idea of true love versus our conditional understanding of love and what it takes for us to be able to get there. And he broke it down in this wonderful book into 4 steps. He said, if you really want to be an advocate for or an instrument of true love, then there are a couple of things that you and I need to understand. The first thing that we are to understand, which I talked about last week, was the fact that we need to begin to practice and understand what it means to be present. And he's literally talking about the physical presence of being able to be with someone physically 100% of the time, not buried in the technology that we have, not thinking about something else, not waiting for that absence of word in order for us to be able to interject what it is that we want to say, but to be present with another individual and to begin to see them and to understand them, which blends beautifully into step number 2, which is recognizing others. Recognizing others. And as students of truth, which I like to call you, as students who walked this conscious spiritual path, there's something very basic, very elemental with regards to the recognition of others, and it's this. You are to recognize the wholeness of another individual, not the brokenness, not the story, not the excuse, not the fear. You and I are called to, at all times, recognize the wholeness of another individual. It's the whole basis of this teaching because it interweaves itself with the understanding that if all is God, if all is divine order, that even in the apparent absence of that, through the lens of our human understanding, we are called upon to go through that veil of illusion and to see that order and to see that wholeness. It's the whole basis of the way in which we pray. We don't pray with regards to asking and hoping. We pray from that declaration energy that moves through those veils of illusion and calls that wholeness forth. And so you and I are called to live from that, to practice that, to be that 100% of the time. And it's easy, right, with people that we like. You know, when Ward Cleaver and June Cleaver are around us and they acknowledge us and they give us checks on Christmas and presents on our birthday, it's really easy to love them. It's not so easy to love the Eddie Haskells of the world who are obnoxious. And I'm dating myself. It's Leave It to Beaver, okay? So it doesn't matter who it is. there is no exception to the practice of recognizing another individual. It's a practice. And so he sets this up, and he always interlaces it with one idea, and that is the idea of mindfulness. If you are going to be a person who is going to stand and pledge allegiance to the ideal of true love, then you have to be a person who has accompanied yourself with practice of mindfulness. Everybody's heard the word mindfulness. To be mindful means to live in a state of awareness for as long as you can extend that. To create the practice of mindfulness, not just on special occasions, but in the day-to-day activities that you and I engage in. To be mindful. And what mindfulness does then is it sets us what we call meditation. It brings us to a still point, a place of quiet. And in that quiet, here's what we are actually practicing. We are practicing the presence of God. I don't know if you've ever thought of your meditation as that, but meditation or mindfulness is actually practicing the presence of God. Think about that little phrase there for a minute. You're practicing the presence of order. You're practicing the presence of harmony. You're practicing the presence of power. You're practicing the presence of equanimity and love. All of the attributes and virtues that we associate with the energy of life itself. You're practicing that. And the only way that you and I can successfully do that is to get still and quiet enough to welcome it in. And so when we are recognizing others, we are practicing the presence of God and seeing them as whole. And it is essential. He wrote in this little book, he said, caring for yourself, reestablishing peace in yourself is the basic condition for actually helping someone else. So that the other can stop being a bomb, a source of pain for ourselves and others, you really have to help him diffuse the bomb. To be able to provide help, we have to have a little calm, a little joy, a little compassion in ourselves. This is what we get from mindfulness in everyday life. Becoming mindful is not something that is only done in a meditation hall. It is also done in the kitchen, in the garden, when we are on the phone, when we are driving our car, when we are doing our dishes. If you can do this and apply this over time, what you begin to see is the culmination of the energy of compassion with which you can help the person you love. The practice of being there, of recognizing others with what is beautiful and with what is healing is something that we should and could do every day. It is possible for us to do this as a lifestyle. So recognizing others then is a mandate, a spiritual mandate that says, I have to move beyond my surface perceptions. And I have to be willing, I must be willing to see all in this energy of the one. And that is the task and the call that is put before us. And so for those of us who study the science of mind and mental science practices, who walk this spiritual path and do our best to incorporate this ideal, then what you know is that every individual is a part of the one. Number one, every individual is a part of the one. Yes, even the person right now that you're thinking about that you're going, Every individual is a part of the one. And every individual has free will to recognize and embody that oneness. Everyone has free will because everything has its origin in mind, in thought. And no one can go in and think for us. So that means that everyone has the power, has the gift of free will to be able to choose that path of recognition and oneness. Or they have what? The free will and the gift to ignore it. They also can be a byproduct of the ignorance of that. And so those that don't, you ready, are not wrong. Those that do not use that free will to recognize oneness are not wrong. And those that do are not right. Maddening, isn't it? All that means is that you are called upon to rise above labels. Because if we do label one subset of an individual as right and another subset of individuals as wrong, then what we have actually created all over again is dualistic behavior and thinking that there is an us and a them. What we come to determine then through this ideal of the recognition of others is that everyone is operating from their current, present state of consciousness, including you and I. What I love about that and understanding the gift of free will, that means that I will never reach a destination. I will never be finished because consciousness is boundless and infinite in nature. So my 3 favorite words, where are my students? To the degree. So to the degree then that I recognize and owned the boundlessness of the one, I recognize my free will is the degree then that this idea of recognition and oneness and boundlessness becomes my reality. And to the degree that I resist it or am ignorant of it is the degree in which that also creates my reality. It's not judgment. It simply is. By nature of what we call spiritual law, all law says for every cause there is an effect. The beautiful part about you and your journey and the fact that you're sitting in this chair this morning means that as you were traveling this path, there was something that crossed within you. I like to call that thing divine discontent. And the divine discontent said, whoa, wait a minute. I don't like the information that I'm receiving. I don't like this pain. I don't like this suffering. I don't like this feeling of disconnect. There's got to be something else. And in the vector of that moment, in that midpoint, new decisions were made. Willingness was opened up. And you and I began to expand our sense of adventure and exploration as sentient beings walking on this planet. And so in doing so, then what we have chosen, through kicking and screaming sometimes, is a path of consciousness and responsibility. And in recognizing others for where they are, and being fully present, and being willing to own and understand that everything is revolved around in mind. And so often we hear about the word punishment or sin. Sin, actually an Aramaic word which means missing the mark, an archery term which means missing the mark. How many of you have sinned today? Oh my God, you're all sinning right now because you're not raising your hand. Thank you. One salvation in the back. Okay. So all of us miss the mark repetitively, right? And the punishment isn't a punishment out there. It isn't an external punishment. It is literally the missing the mark, the experience of the disconnect, whereby you and I are solely responsible for the outcome of what takes place in our lives, not anybody else. So the punishment then is self-imposed. And when you and I take responsibility for that, oh my God, the freedom that opens up for us to be able to look and to see that I am the chief architect and designer of the quality of my life. And so when we get to understand this and we begin to accept this and see this, then our whole system of being is to practice the presence of God by the way in which I view you, by the way I view myself. And I always take these principles and I invert it back to me and to you. And realizing that my effectiveness at being an advocate for true love is completely, entirely based upon the way in which I can do it for myself. I cannot feed another anything if I have not first fed myself with regards to the quality and the consciousness of what is before me. And so when I start to own that, then I began to look and see and understand that this idea. And I'm going to veer off into the Zen teacher of Brene Brown from Texas. Not Vietnam, like Thich Nhat Hanh, but from Texas. And so Brene Brown in her genius, if you don't know this woman, you've got to watch her stuff. But she reminds us that everyone is a vessel of creativity. Can I get an agreement with that? That you are a vessel of creativity. Of course, your creativity is not going to be the same as another person's creativity, but that's what you are. And the creativity is so inherent within you that creativity will not be denied. Never notice as a child how freely they draw and paint and create and express. And we were all there at one time, but we have developed systems whereby we've resisted that. We've orphaned our creativity in greater degrees because of the experiences and the vulnerability that we've had in giving that creation to the world. And just because those experiences may not have been ideal, just because the recognition from another for you was not 100%, is not an excuse to stop creating. And so, first and foremost, you have to understand then that as you do this work and recognize and practice the presence of God as you have to recognize that you are a valuable asset of creativity. And your brand of creativity, if you will, is unique. Just like the thumbprint and the snowflake and all of those different things, no one will be expressing your particular style of creativity the way that you do. So that means that your creativity is not only needed, but that if you trust it and you honor it, you will find your tribe, and that tribe will find you. But it's a repetitive, constant thing where you must honor the fact that you are a creative vessel. And so when you do this effectively, you begin to understand and know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you and I will then begin to disintegrate into the ever-rising waters of illusion. You see, practicing the presence of God is beginning to calm those waters of illusion, the storm of the illusion. You must learn to swim, to navigate through these waters, and eventually come to the ascended ideal of walking over those waters. So it's the symbology of Jesus the Christ. You know the story, right? Of walking on the water. It was an archetype. It was an allegory for you and I to see that what we are called to do is to not look at the storm. Is to continue to march forward and to be able to do that. The Apostle Peter had a glimpse of that. Remember, he stepped out of the boat, and as long as he kept his vision on Jesus the Christ, which is the archetype of truth in that moment, as long as he kept his gaze on that, he was fine. And the moment that he looked at the churning waters below him, he started to what? Sink. And then Jesus, he said, yo. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, ye of little faith. And he followed that by saying, why do you doubt? So here's the relevance of that. Your creativity is being thrown into the choppy water. And if you and I have not muscled and garnered and built a sense of self through the recognition of practicing the presence of God by means of you, then what are you and I likely to do? Sink. Every single time. And who is all of that below? Brene Brown calls those the critiques, the criticizers within the world. So we show up. As creative beings, you and I must show up in the world ready to walk on water with our creativity. She says that by showing up, you fulfill the innate need to be seen. What I loved about that was she said, that's not an egoic thing. Creation must be seen. And so you as a creative being must be seen, not from a place of, but from a place of, I have worth, I have value, I have something to share with the world. And so you show up with the need to be seen, to connect, to share your individualized brand of creation. And by doing these things, this is the reward that we get. She said, you get your ass kicked. I apologize for using the word kicked on Sunday. And she beautifully describes this process is that you must learn to get your ass kicked. Because you must learn then to transcend that dense earthly experience, to be able to recognize the value of who you are. She went on to say, if you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, then I'm not interested in your feedback. If you're in the cheap seats, she says, and not putting yourself on the line and just talking about how I can do it better, then I'm no way interested in your feedback. Of course, the part of us that has been wounded and hurt goes, yeah. Yeah, you tell him, Brene. But there's even another level to that. You see, it's not enough to understand and create that sense of ownership about your creativity. And it's certainly not a stopping point for you to make those remarks to another individual. But here's where you and I take it deeper. This is when you say, look, I'm putting my creativity, my heart and my soul, I'm putting it and I'm giving it to the world. I ask you to come with me and to join in the energy of that. If you are not capable of doing that, understand, I'm going to give my creativity anyway. What that develops within you and I is the constancy of buoyancy, of walking over the critics, of walking over. If you and I sink every single time there is a criticism, then we have forgotten who we are. And the world will provide us plenty of opportunities to practice. But you and I are called to a higher ideal. And I want to say that we've been on both sides of the coin. We have been criticized and we have been critical of. But if you and I now are to stand in the energy of true love, we must begin to move past that and begin to see and practice the presence of God in the individuals, to recognize their wholeness. And until we reach that state, the book of Romans said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Until you and I are transformed by the renewing of the commitment of practicing the presence of that ideal, then we are constantly looking for someone to save us, something to get us out of the water, something to come and to validate us, when all along the validation has been within you. She said that most of her whole entire work around vulnerability and around empowerment came from one quote. She said, I know that sounds cheesy to say that one quote has changed my life. And she says, but have you ever had the experience where your heart and your mind have been ready and you read something and you went, holy wow. And she said, for me, that was what's famously called the man in the arena speech. Anybody know who gave the man in the arena speech? Theodore Roosevelt. He said this, it's not the critic who counts. not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Go online, Google this, and there are several sites with hundreds of stories around this quote. One that captivated me was a son who, after his father died and he was emptying out his father's belonging, found this written after the war. His father had written it and put it in his wallet and had carried around his whole life after that and read it every single day. You must begin to recognize the value within yourself and to then begin to ripple that out if you and I are ever to create or see or experience a world that works for everyone. My final thing I saw, the true test of recognizing others is this. A student asked Shigeru Suzuki if he kept an eye on his students to see if they were following the precepts of the Buddhist guidelines of conduct. And he said, I don't pay attention to whether you're following the precepts or not. What I notice and pay attention to is how you are with one another. How you are with one another is all that any of us needs to know with regards to ownership and understanding of true love. And so it is. Carol, will you come up? I see the flyer for Turkey, and you're always going to Turkey, so I put two and two together.
Congratulations.
You're Miss Istanbul to me, yes. Here.
Thank you. Some of you are probably grateful that I'm up here and you're not. But I'm grateful for so many things, and they've been named so often. But, you know, we come in, the lights are on, the ventilation system's on, the place is clean, and it's not magic. It takes a lot of work from our wonderful staff and so many people that are nameless and faceless to us on a daily basis that do so much work around here. And I'm very grateful for that. And there's one little thing I have to mention I haven't heard mentioned. We have something that every organization would envy. We have someone who even makes the announcements interesting. And now let's read our grateful giving, and read it from your heart, read it with intention, and know that you're loved. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, okay, I got it. Oh, well. I live in a universe of abundance as I freely and joyfully give. I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
Hello again. I would like to welcome back up Mary Allison and Michael Lott. Please support these young artists. They have a merchandise table, and both of them are amazing artists. Thank you.
So if we criticize the world but ostracize ourselves from being part of it, we're defining the word insane. Because when I judge you, I'm hurting a part of myself, right? Because we're all little pieces of the sun. We're little sun drops, right? This song's about me releasing the need to judge other people in order to give myself a sense of security that didn't exist. I was born wild, young, and free. I was torn my own identity. While all the kids were gathered around the sandbox, I couldn't seem to find my place in life. And though the only object of illusion was the inability to look inside,
Thank you both for being out there. As tradition for this season, there'll be a big tip jar. So take everything and just give it to them. It's an order. Recognize them. Thank you so much. I invite you to stand. I invite our practitioners to come forward. I remind you that the town hall meeting will be starting fairly soon, so go and do what you need to do and be right back so we can get going. But look at these beautiful individuals and allow them to be able to know a higher truth through what we call affirmative prayer. And make sure that you meet with one of them and let them do that amazing and give that gift to you. And let us sing our closing song together.
Blessed, I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And have a blessed week, everyone. Thank you.